that's the kind of little phrase that they like to change the first letters of some of the words back and
The
forth.
fur to turtles?
Yeah, turtle hurdles. That's all.
Yes. Like
I know,
Fuddruckers.
but you didn't say that, so
I
I
didn't. I was
shouldn't have.
careful.
I know you were.
Not sloppy.
It was a double pun. It's kind of like a just turn back on itself.
Wasn't a really good pun though.
It's no,
It was like more of a double entendre. Duh.
Yeah, there you go.
This
Double
literally
entendre.
gives me life. This literally gives me life.
Taking me back to my teenage years right here. That's what's going on with me. All right, last
I'm
three
living
steps.
vicariously through you. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my God. We did grow up differently, Steph. You and me
For
both.
sure. Oh my God. My dad doesn't even want to talk to me. I love this. That you guys literally give me, I'm laughing the whole time. And I'm literally thinking about, like, I can't wait to have this relationship with my kids. You guys are awesome.
Well,
Oh,
life really is a lot of fun when you get past all the crap. It's just
Exactly.
takes a little while. That's all.
all right, here
Well,
we
we do
go.
laugh. We can laugh a lot about words. Words are a lot of fun to play with.
In fact, I was really looking at grievance etymology because this word in Spanish has different, I mean, it's just that, I'm all about etymologies. And it says,
Yeah, what did you find?
well, I'm just starting my search and it says grievance, its origins is from Old French graver to burden. So also in the sense of injury, like injury. Hardship, suffering, pain, bodily affliction. But I'm trying to see what is the
Hi,
best
Carolyn.
translation
Welcome.
in Spanish, because there's something that when I find the specific word in Spanish, the etymology brings me another whole set of
My dad used to do that too, is have us
Yeah?
like dissect the word. Oh yeah. I mean, I was homeschooled, but
I love
my
to
dad,
dissect words
yeah.
and numbers.
Before we ever used a word, he would say, you need to know exactly where it came from. He would have us like break us down the definition of it. So
Well,
that's, yeah.
I guess you're bringing your father into the conversation in all levels.
Interesting.
Yeah.
2 times already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of fathers, my father says or said that he could speak 7 languages. I never heard him do it, but he knew. I mean, I'm just telling you. I never did,
One was Pig Latin.
but no, he knew Greek. He knew Greek. He knew Latin. He knew Hebrew. He knew Yiddish. He knew English, and he had a photographic memory. So it's not too hard, I suppose, for people to with that kind of memory, which is disgusting to me. No, with that kind of memory, to be able to, learn different languages. They just have to learn what they sound like and be able to say it. If I try to speak Spanish the way Adriana gets going with it, my tongue would get all twisted up and I just would probably just give up. But anyway, languages are fun, and most of ours go back to the Greek and Latin, and he could tell me what that was. So you probably would have enjoyed, Adriana, you probably would have enjoyed listening to my father for a little while.
Well, I'm enjoying listening to you all the time, so of course I would love to hear your father as well. You all remember me of Roberto, so you all for me are a good representation of his presence in my life, the presence of the father. And I was searching this grievance, and in Spanish the best translate that I can find is queja, but queja is like complaint. Grievance is not like the sense in Spanish. It's funny because I always thought that that grievance is something like resentment, but it's not like that. It's just complaining. Grievance?
Well,
it's resentment,
they are the same. And
yeah, but it's just that when you said resentment, yeah, but when you said
grievance
resentment,
is closer to complaining than resentment, definitely.
Yeah.
Grievances closer to. Yeah.
Grievance is
Yeah.
closer. Yeah.
Ah,
What in
time
the.
time to stack up the grievances I have and tell you all what I think of you. Give you a piece of my mind. All right.
I love
Speaking
the
of piece
way.
of my mind, let
Do you
me
remember?
get to this lesson, or we'll never
Yes,
get
yes,
through
yes,
the
yes,
lesson.
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Sorry to
Take
interrupt,
us,
Dad.
take us home, Captain.
All right. Everybody ready already?
We're
Dad, you have a
ready
burning thing
already.
you got to get out?
Ready.
What? No,
Ready.
I was going to say something about the resentments from Charlie back in the day. Resentment was like a replay on a football game. First, they tackle somebody and they beat the hell out of them, and they pile 10 people on top of them. Then they play it again 16 times so that the guy, it looks like the guy's, continuing to be piled on or whatever. And that's a resentment. The first time is bad enough, but continuing to beat yourself up with those kind of memories is no fun. We went through that yesterday, and that's the end of that.
Thank God. Okay.
All right. I have honored my father, and now it is time to read. Read. Get
Thank you,
everything.
honorable son.
You're welcome, honorable father. And without further ado, lesson 69. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. No one can look upon what your grievances conceal. Hey, Papa. Thanks, Papa. No one can look upon what your grievances conceal. Because your grievances are hiding the light of the world in you, everyone stands in darkness, and you stand beside your brother in darkness. But as the veil of your grievances is lifted, you're released with your brother. Share your salvation now with your brother who stood beside you when you were in hell. He is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both. Today, let us make another real attempt to reach the light in you. Before we undertake this attempt to reach the light in you, in our more extended practice period, let us devote several minutes to thinking about what we are trying to do here. We are literally attempting to get in touch with the salvation of the world. We are trying to see past the veil of darkness that keeps the salvation of the world concealed. We're trying to let the veil of darkness be lifted and see the tears of God's Son disappear in the sunlight. Let's begin our longer practice period today with the full realization that this idea that my grievances hide the light of the world in me is so, and with real determination to reach what is dearer to us than all else. Salvation is our only need. There is no other purpose here, and no other function to fulfill but salvation. Learning salvation is our only goal. Let us end the ancient search for salvation today by finding the light in us and holding the light in us up for everyone who searches with us to look up and rejoice. Very quietly now, and this is a good time for you to start this practice for today. very quietly now, with your eyes closed, try to let go of all the egoic content that generally occupies your consciousness. That's anything from the past or the future, anything that compares you to something else or anything else, judgmental stuff. Try to let go of all the egoic content that generally occupies your consciousness. Think of your mind as a vast circle, surrounded by a layer of heavy, dark clouds. You can see only the clouds because you seem to be standing outside of the circle and quite apart from the circle. From where you stand, you can see no reason to believe there is a brilliant light hidden by clouds. Clouds seem to be the only reality. They seem to be all there is to see. Therefore, you don't attempt to go through the clouds and past them, which is the only way that you would be really convinced of their lack of substance. We will make this attempt to go past these clouds today. Paragraph 6. After you have thought about the importance of what you are trying to do for yourself and the world, try to settle down in perfect stillness, remembering only how much you want to reach the light in you today, right now, right this moment. Determine to go past the clouds. In your mind, reach out and touch those clouds to see it's just vapor. You can't even touch them. If you wave your hand, it brushes the clouds aside just by the wind that your hand makes. As you walk through the clouds, you can feel the cool mist against your cheeks. And that's all it is a slightly cool mist. And you can feel it on your cheeks, and you can feel it on your forehead, and you can feel it on your eyelids as you lightly walk through the clouds. Go on. Clouds can't stop you. If you're doing the exercise properly, you should begin to feel a sense of being lifted up and carried ahead. Your little effort and small determination call on the power of the universe to help you, and God Himself will raise you from the darkness into the light. You are in accord with God's will. You cannot fail. You cannot fail because your will is God's will. Have confidence in your Father today and be certain that God has heard you and answered you. You may not recognize God's answer yet, but you can indeed be sure that God's answer is given you, and you will yet receive that answer. Stop.
It's just that this book is giving you all the answers that you were asking this morning, honey. It's really amazing. This is a miracle. Each day you're receiving
Oh.
your answers, honey. This is really something beautiful. We will share with all of you
All right,
later
let me
what
finish
was
reading.
happening. Yeah, but this is truly a miracle today.
All right. Whew. Try as you attempt to go through the clouds to the light, to hold this confidence in your mind that God's answer is given you. Try to remember that you are at last joining your will to God's will. Try to keep the thought clearly in mind that what you undertake with God must succeed. Then let the power of God work in you and through you, that God's will and your will be done. In the shorter practice periods, which you will want to do as often as possible in view of the importance of today's idea to you and your happiness, remind yourself that your grievances are hiding the light of the world from your awareness. Remind yourself also that you are not searching for the light alone, and that you do know where to look, for the light is within you. Say that my grievances hide the light of the world in me. I cannot see what I have hidden, yet I want to let what I have hidden be revealed to me for my salvation and the salvation of the world. Also, be sure to tell yourself, if I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. If you happen to be tempted by anyone for anything today. So I don't know if I read the cadence of that last sentence really well, but the idea of the last sentence is if you have a grievance, if somebody tempts you, if somebody pisses you off, don't let them give you another excuse to add a grievance to your pile of grievances, right? Time to get rid of all these grievances. And I'm going to traipse on over to the notes. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are enjoying the show so far. Notes to lesson 69. My grievances hide the light of the world within me. I have a feeling that the deeper we read into this book, the more personal it is going to hit, and the more you guys might end up hearing my tears. So I apologize in advance if I get a little choked up sometimes, but what can I say? It's real life, people. All right. Lesson 69 states, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. At this time, I would also like to call to your attention the last few lines of this same lesson, which says that if I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. The big difference between these two lines is subtle, very subtle as a T you don't pronounce.
I was about to say that.
Super subtle. Welcome to the English class. One is referencing that grievances hide the truth of your big S self from being seen by your outer world. So I'm just going to take a moment to mention this thing about the big S self. We have capitalized the word self in the book. And so we know when we're talking about our higher self, and it's capitalized. So we'd say big S self. But when I speak, if I say big S too fast, it sounds like big ass. And so I switch it to higher self frequently. I try to switch it to higher self. So if I stumble in there, you guys, now you can know why I might stumble there, because I'm just trying not to say big ass. So the truth of your big ass self from being seen by your outer world. I'll read it right. Sorry. The difference between these two lines is subtle. One referencing that grievances hide the truth of your higher self from being seen by your outer world. The second references the fact that when you hold a grievance, you will not be able to see or recognize the light that is actually shining from your outer world upon you. As we're looking outside to see what's inside of us, right? That's why we need our friends as mirrors. And our enemies as mirrors too. Okay, the 20th century has been called the age of Freud. It was in the 20th century that science actually started to explore the depth of the inner workings of the human mind. Although much of Freud's work has been discredited, Freud did discover the psychological coping strategy of projection. When the human mind is overloaded with blame, shame, and guilt, our mind attempts to get rid of this guilt by projecting its own internal guilt, blame, and shame into the external world. In this way, the human mind hopes to rid itself of the problem it sees. Now, it sees its external world as the source of the problem. Therefore, it's better able to cope with its own internal blame, shame, and guilt that still remain hidden deep within its subconscious mind. This today we talk about as our worldview. And we have a worldview that incorporates the things that are our assumptions because it makes the world make sense to us. Changing our worldview is hard to do. Incorporating one or two new facts is easy to do. So frequently, we'll adjust those facts so they fit our worldview. And that's what ends up kind of shifting reality. All right. In a less extreme example of projection, we see people blaming others for the poor results that they experience in their lives. They claim they are victims of outside forces that are beyond their control. Projection allows them to claim it's not their fault. They no longer have to take responsibility for the perceived failures in their own lives. Projection actually forms the basis for our world of perception. This is why both psychologists and physiologists tell us that our physical senses are not objective cameras to our world. Instead, our senses are subjective thought confirmation devices for our inner mind's beliefs. Just within the last couple of months, there have been articles about how what we see is really kind of an amalgam of the last 10 to 15 seconds, and our brain fixes stuff and puts it in place so that it makes sense to us. In the same kind of way that the Native Americans didn't see the ships when the Pilgrims came over, because it was so far out of their worldview, it's kind of like these white people just showed up on the shore. And then eventually they were able to see the ships as they were taken out to the ships and boarded them. It took getting there and stepping on them to realize that humans could make something this huge, because it was something outside of their realm of possibility. So, taking a moment and coming back, and I'm going to get back on the reading in just a second. In this moment, we can have a real view of the world. If we take a deep breath and we trust God and we ask God to see what's in front of us, we will be shown what's really in front of us, the truth. We won't have these illusions that block our ability to see reality. Okay, moving on. Projection actually forms the basis for our world of perception. This is why both physiologists and psychologists tell us our physical senses are not objective cameras to our world. Instead, our senses are subjective thought confirmation devices for our inner mind's beliefs. Psychologists now realize that projection is not only involved with negative emotions, but also with positive ones. I am sure there are some people you like to be around because they seem to give off positive vibrations. And there are others you prefer to avoid because they seem to drain your energy and bring you down. Your world is a reflection of your own inner mind. This is why Einstein said the most important thing for a person to determine for himself is whether the universe is a supportive or a non-supportive place. Depending on their answer, Einstein said, they would either be optimistic or pessimistic, and that would make all the difference in their life. The world you see outside of you is a projection of your inner beliefs. The law of perception that rules our mental world states the following. If fear holds a place in your heart, you will look upon a world full of conflict, struggle, fear, and hate. If love and only love rules your heart, you'll see a world of mercy, love, and forgiveness. Your grievances block others from recognizing the truth of your higher self. Instead, what others see is a projection of your ego's little s self. Perceiving yourself to be not perfect, whole, and complete, your egoic mind projects its own self-image of lack, limitation, and fear. Back out into the outer world. Naturally, lack, limitation, and fear are what you see in your world, and what your world sees coming from you. When you recognized the truth of your higher self, your mind will project that new positive self-image, and your world will reflect back the positive qualities of love, forgiveness, and allowance that flow from your true loving nature. The outer world is a reflection of your inner mind. Do not let your grievances hide your light from the world. Do not let your grievances prevent you from seeing the love of God flowing from your outer world into your inner being. Your grievances are illusory clouds that are blocking the light from within and without. In the real world, there is only light, and darkness is the illusion. Your grievances are the darkness that prevents you from recognizing that the real world is only love's light. Let's take a minute to take a couple of deep breaths. I'll lead us through a meditation. We will have help in remembering to set up some reminders since we want some consistent reminders today. But start today, right now, with us and relax and end the day with us. You can come back to this recording if it's helpful. Make today the best possible day you can. Thank you, Stephanie.
Good morning, everybody. I invite you to come to the present moment, whatever that means for you. I invite you, maybe, if you can, to place your hand on your stomach and your chest. And use your breath to pull you to the present moment, just watching your body move, watching your stomach move, and then your chest and shoulders. I invite you to pay attention to your exhales. And let's just take 3 deep breaths. On your next inhale, inhale into your stomach, filling all the way up to your collarbone. And exhaling with control. And exhaling completely, maybe bringing your belly button towards your spine. Taking a nice deep breath wherever you are. Just noticing when you inhale completely how that feels. Exhale with control. And last breath, really do yourself a favor and take a deep breath with control, filling all the way up. There's no rush. And as you exhale, just releasing control, release all your tension into the ground, allowing the earth and Mother Nature to take it all in. And just returning to your normal breath as you listen to these words.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was wonderful. Today's lesson, 69, from A Course in Miracles. These are the words that came from Jesus to help bring the light back to the world. God is continuously guiding us back to the light.
Okay, good morning.
God does not want you to be miserable. Good morning, Rosa. So today, in this little meditation time, we're going to take a minute or two to review these thoughts. And then I invite you to review them throughout the day. This is really key in what the text is hoping will help deliver you from this mundane existence back into heaven here on earth, welcoming you back into the Garden of Eden. So, share your salvation now with your brother who stood beside you while you were in hell. He is your brother in the light of the world, and that is what saves us both. Today, make a real attempt to reach the light inside of you. The only thing standing in your way is the fog of fear, the mist of grievances. They hide the light, but it's just a fog. It's just a mist. So with the full realization that we are trying to get this veil to be lifted and see the tears of God's Son disappear in the sunlight, the warmth that clears away the fog. the light of the sun that banishes that morning mist that gets in our way so we can see the sunlight. So with determination to reach what is dearer to you than everything else in your life, this is like putting on your oxygen mask every morning. Get your focus on optimism, and salvation is the only need you have. There is no other purpose here and no other function to fulfill. Connecting with God, getting salvation, and reflecting that here on earth as a beacon to help your brother get out of their misery. Let us end Let us end the ancient search today by finding the light inside of us and holding it up for everyone who searches with us to look upon and rejoice. That helps them realize the light inside of them. So very quietly now, with your eyes closed, try to let go of all the content which generally occupies your mind, your egoic thought. Think of your mind as a vast round area surrounded by a layer of thick, heavy, dark clouds. You can see only the clouds because you seem to be standing outside the whole area and really quite apart from it. From where you stand, you see no reason to believe there's a brilliant light hidden by the clouds. The clouds seem to be the only reality. They seem to be all there is to see. Therefore, you don't attempt to walk through them and past them, which is the only way in which you could really be convinced of their lack of substance. We will make this attempt today. And after you've thought about the importance of what you're trying to do for yourself and the world, settle down in perfect stillness, remembering only how much you want to reach the light in you today, right now, right this moment, 18 minutes after the hour. Determine to go past those clouds. Reach out and touch them in your mind. Brush them aside with your hand. Feel that as you walk through these clouds, all you do is feel a little bit of mist on your cheeks, of a fog on your forehead, of something just lightly touching your eyelid as you walk through it easily. Go forward now. Clouds cannot stop you. Get a sense of being lifted up and carried ahead. Your effort, a little bit of effort that you put forth here, a little bit of determination right now. Call on the power of the universe to help you. God Himself will raise you from the darkness into the light. It's already inside of you. You are in accord with His will. You cannot fail because your will is His. Have confidence in your Father today. Be certain He's heard you and is answering now. You may not recognize His answer, but you can indeed be sure that it is given you and you will yet receive it. Try as you attempt to go through these clouds to the light, to hold on to that confidence in your mind. Remember, you are the last. At last, joining your will to God's will. We are bending our wills to God's will. Try to keep the thought clearly in mind that you undertake what you're undertaking now with God must succeed. The power of God to work in you and through you is an infinite source of power and it will make you clear that His will, and ultimately yours too, will be done. Now today we've got a lot of little practice periods too. So what we've just done is the longer practice period. We've set forth a good intention, but here's what we need to do several times an hour today to keep this in mind. So write it down on a Post-it note if you need to. Go set your little reminder program if you need to. I'm going to need somebody to remind me to turn mine on after I'm done talking. But there's a little paragraph here to be reminded throughout the day. So here it is. Keep this thought in your mind as much as you can. Remind yourself that any grievances you have, that's resentments, anything that lets you get in the way of loving your brother, these grievances are hiding the light of the world from your awareness. The light that you see outside of you in the world, it's a mirror to the light that's inside of you. Seeing the light out in the world, not letting the grievances get in the way, is the way to find that light inside of you and share it with the world. So remind yourself, you're not searching for it alone, and remind yourself that you do know where to look. You look outside to look within, but ultimately it is with you all the time. Say this to yourself. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. I cannot see what I have hidden, yet I want to let it be revealed to me, for that my salvation and the salvation of the world. Make sure to tell yourself, if somebody pisses you off, that you say, if I hold to this grievance, if I hold on to this resentment, the light of the world will be hidden from me. As soon as you can, drop that grievance. Don't let anybody get you down today. Stay on an optimistic path. God is with you. Today we start shining the light of the world. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. I've got some questions. You could say good morning, but I see a beautiful little girl in front of me who's smiling and happy. And I think we can have a wonderful day today, guys. I'm excited. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you coming and contributing. How's everybody doing today?
Amazing. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
This was perfect timing, this lesson for me, because I believed that I had a grievance because there were unauthorized transactions in my business account.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have a grievance too. I got a grievance on your behalf already.
Yeah, and this morning I've got to make my way to the bank. And I couldn't really sleep last night. I was examining my bank statements and thinking, how could this have happened? I looked online, called the 800 number last night, and of course they didn't pick up. I thought what happened to 24-hour stuff? I guess that's no longer. So it was all in my mind about this and imagining punishment to the people who did it, whoever did it. And I recognized I was going down this in the wrong direction. And that it was an opportunity to trust God, knowing that God can handle this. I don't need to take this on myself. I don't need to add unnecessary beliefs and thoughts and come up with anger and all these layers and layers that I could put on it. And I decided to just go to bed. I said a prayer, and knowing that it was taken care of, it's done. I'm just going to go through the necessary steps needed to be done. And I know it's coming back to me. It's just energy. Um, it's not real, and it can be undone as it, or recreated as it was created.
Yeah.
Because it's my world. It's the way I see it. So I'm really grateful for this lesson today. I really need it.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to see if you're thinking about it, the dollars flying away, how they're going to make their way back. But the abstraction of energy, that I agree with you, it makes it a lot easier to imagine how it's just a flow. It's just like the wind blowing around. It's always going to blow somewhere. Got to blow somewhere. It's going to change.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Hi, Rosa.
Good morning. It's funny that who was that just spoke? Not on my,
That's Janine.
Janine.
Janine. Yeah, my
Janine,
sister
my
Janine.
sister. I just
Hey,
went through
Rosa.
that same experience last month. I dropped my wallet or left it in CVS, and someone immediately started depleting my accounts, all of my accounts. And when it happened, I actually went and said, "Oh, somebody got it." Okay. And started making the calls and reporting and police reports and all of that. And but I didn't panic. See, because I see a world of peace and a place of honesty and truthfulness. And even though I am the person who finds stuff and returns it to everybody, no matter how much um, energy it takes, I have always returned people's things, phones, wallets that I find and that kind of stuff. However, not everyone is on that frame. And this lesson, in fact, and the outcome of that experience was I got all my cards. Everybody paid me back my money. See, the thing about capitalism is that banks and stuff have security. They are insured. And if you do the right thing by reporting it to the police and get your police report, all monies can be returned to you without any hesitation. They don't even ask anything except for, did you give them permission? And of course, that answer to everybody is no. We didn't give that permission, even if it's your kid and took your wallet or took your credit card or whatever. You still didn't give them permission. So that can be handled. But one of the things that I realized, is that we are in the process of retraining our mind, that we don't have to complain about anything because we live in a world that's perfect and whole and complete as God says it. And He only ensures us that His only wish for us is to be happy. And of course, if somebody's stealing your money, that ain't going to make you happy. So you have to get out of that frame that you
Yes,
know
ma'am.
that everything will be replaced. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. You, as the person, has to just go through the process of reordering and shutting down and all that, which is time consuming, but it's a blessing. And the retraining of our mind is that no matter what happens, no matter how we can be upset in that instant or saddened in that instant, we can then return to the peace and harmony that God's got us. That it's all right to feel that emotion for an instant, a minute, but let's not go on complaining constantly, because
You ain't got to dwell
your
down there,
inner
right?
side, your insides reflect your outside. So if you're actually always complaining and always feeling less than and always feeling like you're a victim and always, that's the world you're going to see. I refuse to see that. And how does God show me that I refuse to see it? By presenting these situations where I could think otherwise. Just a test. Let's see how well you've learned what you need to learn, Rosa. How you going to react to this one? The same way I reacted to the last one, in peace and harmony. And that's the whole thing. We are in the process of training our minds. Will we get there in 365 days? I don't know. Or does it take 10 years of 365 days of training? Is this a constant thing that we have to always be aware of, that we are constantly in flux. We are always given the opportunity to think things differently, to accept the fact that yes, we are supplied and given grace and mercy and all of this because God only wants the good for us. And what we think about is what we bring about. So if you're constantly complaining or constantly seeing things in a negative, that's the world you're going to live in. And you're going to always see that. So when are you going to get tired of seeing the negative and focus in on the love and
Hmm.
forgiveness? When are we going to change? And could you imagine if everybody was on this round
Even just
at
a
the
little bit.
same time?
Hmm.
If we were all on the same space, the same page, then the world would be a pleasant place, a more pleasant place to be. But the reality is that we are all on individual lessons and in our life. And we have to learn these lessons through experiences, the experience, and learning to retrain and accept them in a more positive fashion. I love the fact
Rosa.
that we're all on a
Oh,
lesson.
Rosa,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
always bring us
So
your
good.
light in here.
So good.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Rosa.
Yeah,
That was
Rosa.
so, so
We all
helpful.
hug you right now.
Yes,
I
You can
love
yes.
you
imagine a
I
too.
group
needed that.
hug.
Yeah, it's gonna be all right. It can't be
Yeah.
nothing else. That's the grace and mercy that we have, that we are born and raised and live in the United States. Now, if we live somewhere else, it might be different. But since
Hmm.
we are in a capitalistic society, don't worry about nobody stealing your money or anything else, because it will all be returned to you because they are insured.
Yes, yes, yes.
That
Just be
safety
safe.
at multiple levels is important. It's good to know that you're safe at a spiritual level. It's great to know that you're safe at a physical level too. It makes it a lot easier to relax and know that you're safe at a spiritual level. You know, all your bases are covered here. And
Yeah.
But I just want to add that, yeah, knowing though that it's still, it's still energy. It's still about how we see it. And I've already forgiven whoever's on the other end of the transactions. I'm at peace. I just know I need to go through the steps, and I know it's done. It's already
that's just
done.
going to get it in pocket faster. Being at peace will
Yes,
only help it go better, faster, easier. Holding on to the grievance is the thing that slows it all down.
It
The more you
does,
want to
and
be,
people don't really realize that. But like John
you
says,
want this
what?
energy back, don't
Yeah,
stop it.
John says, be
Well,
content in everything. Be content. He didn't necessarily say be happy in it, but be content in it and know that it's a process. Just don't stop the process, because even, and I'm going to say this because I realized that there was a card in my wallet that I had completely forgotten about because I don't use it that often. A credit
Mm.
card, but a lot of these cards give you advances, and that's what I was afraid of.
Oh
That
yeah,
here.
those are expensive.
However, I realized that they can't advance anything because you can't credit in advance. You have to put in your PIN. So if you cover yourself with the pins or the
Security,
cards,
yes.
that's a security thing. They cannot just take money because they tried. They tried. And,
Hmm.
you know, the criminal mind has been trained to find an answer or solution to fool the world. And that's what we do anyway. How many of us show up happy no matter what's going on? You know, and that's a choice. That's a choice. No matter what's going on. I heard, I was looking at and this is a little sidetrack. Um, I was looking at Batman, the Batman that shows Bruce as a kid and how he traveled through, his process to become Batman. And in that, when his father and mother were killed, and that guy, what's his name, the butler who took care of him, he said, well, Bruce was only
Alfred.
like Alfred, yeah. Alfred said his little, in his unfeeling English mannerism, turned to the little boy and looked at him and grabbed his hand. He said, "Don't let them see you cry." So he told him that it's all right to be sad. Just don't let people know you sad. Don't let people see you cry. They see you as a weakness. And we've changed that whole concept because tears actually are cleansing. Tears let out emotions of happiness and sadness and fear and everything. It just releases the body. But I was really, that mere statement that most men tell their kids, especially if they're male sons, don't cry. Don't cry. Don't let them see you cry. As if that's a bad thing. I don't believe in that. I believe people have to let go and release emotions in any form or fashion that they need to, whether it's tears, yelling, screaming, prayers, whatever needs to be released. We can't hold on to these saddened ideas because what we do is we then carry them into our life. And we don't even know after 10 years of feeling this or hiding this, all of a sudden it shows up and we don't even know where it came from, where it came, what's going on or anything. And the reason why we don't is because we hid it for so long. So that when that emotion arises, we have to really either just let it go arbitrarily and cause all kinds of confusion and chaos, or sit with it and learn to overcome it by being aware of it. And like I started out with, we are in the process of training our minds, our ego self, getting that under the little bit of control that we can have it. That little bit of control that we can see where our emotions come from, where they're going, and what reaction do we cause when we let these emotions go to whomever. A lot of times we just have to release and not be afraid to release it in our solitude or in public. you know I've always had that kind of experience. I remember the first time I met this woman, I was in 10th grade, and she used to read to us every day. We came into her room. She'd spend the first 5-10 minutes reading from the great novel. She was an amazing reader. She put so much emotion into it. She actually took you to the places that these novels were talking about, and you could see the green and the wind blowing over the field and the sun rising. And I mean, she was amazing. Well, she got me into reading old novels. And I've always been very grateful for her. But I remember saying this to her in class, and I went to an all girls high school. And everybody laughed at me because they thought it was the most ridiculous thing for me to thank her for opening up this world that I had never known before. I never read a novel when I got to the 10th grade. I read what I needed to read, history, sociology, all that stuff. But I had never sat down to a novel. So she opened me up to a world that was amazing to me. Little black girl in a all girls high school, and they just laughed. They said, "Oh, you such a sucker. You such a she ain't doing nothing but just they just were complaining
Oh
about
my
me telling her
goodness.
thank you." And I was like, really? I didn't care. I didn't care. I'm one of those people that believes that I can show who I am no matter what, and you can say whatever you want, and I'm not going to be upset with you because that's your world. And if you live in that world, then shame on you. you know, you need to think differently, and that's what we're doing. We're learning to think differently, and eventually, it'll come to us like naturally. We'll just naturally do this. So yeah, it might take 10 years of 365 days of relearning and reinforcing A Course in Miracles, because it's exactly what it says. It is
Yeah.
a course in miraculous concepts that are so simple that we need to complicate it. It's
Yep.
really, we just feel the need to make it harder, but it's not. It's not. It's not. So I pray that today is the day that we actually realize and move in the direction of this lesson.
My grievances hide the light of the world. Today
Yeah.
is the day to get rid of resentments. It's the day to let stuff go.
Yes.
There's a Yiddish phrase.
I want to share. Oh, sorry. Go, Judy.
One of my favorite lines from Blazing Saddles. Lozenge! Mel Brooks is dressed up like a Native American, and he shouts that to let them go. Let the resentments go. Let it all go. Let everything go to get out of prison, get back into heaven. Thank you, Rosa. You are a true angel in my life. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your perspective and the confidence that you give your words to state what we need so we can come back to the kingdom of heaven. We can come back to this forgiveness that's going to set us free and let us back into heaven. That's where our true selves are.
Well, I'm just a reflection of you. That's why we're all here. We
I've never been
reflect
so beautiful.
and strengthen each other and our stuff. Hey, look, I wanted to ask you this. So I do not have the book that you are using. So
You
what's the
don't?
name of it?
A Course in Miracles Workbook for Dummies is the main one that I read from. That's Tom as the author, and Tom can give you a digital copy. We can tell you where to get it, but I also read from the main book, which looks purple. It's the same, almost the same as the blue book. The purple
Yeah.
book comes from a group called the Circle of Atonement. And then
Oh,
the blue book is kind of the main book. So do you have any of the Course in Miracles books? Anything?
oh, I have, I do. I have the main book. That's the one I
All right.
used. But I was interested in getting that workbook for dummies, and I saw it on Kindle.
Yeah. That's how I read it. I read it through Kindle, and that's Tom's book. So Tom Wakechild is here in the room with us, and it's a relatively easy to get to. In fact, Janine's got one on the way to her, and it's I can easily help either guide you to it, or if you want a digital copy, we can get you a digital copy. There's a sample up on Tom's website. Um, but I'm happy to share, with you as much as you need so that you can see it.
Yeah, I like the fact that you read it every day, but I'm gonna order it
Okay.
eventually. I have to figure out where I'm still going through the process of changing all my credit cards.
Oh,
And I
okay.
just noticed. I just noticed that.
I'll get a link in there to make it easy for when you're ready, and it'll be waiting for you.
Thank
In the
you.
meantime, if you want one on your phone, that digital copy is one that I can refer to on my phone. I keep it in my pocket all the time, and that's pretty handy. So if that's helpful to you, let me know. Tom has made it really easy for us all to get this in our hands. It's also the same text that's on the website. So if you go to thecourseinmiracles.com, the regular old Foundation for Inner Peace, they have the entire text there. And the lessons that I'm reading, it's all right there. Everything is freely available. So there's nothing really hidden. The notes that Tom creates really help me kind of delve in, and that's part of a big part that I read. Those you'll only get from A Course in Miracles Workbook for Dummies, because he took the time to break down every lesson line by line and really make it easy for us to know what the Course is talking about. In fact, I come back to the questions usually to
Yeah.
start the conversation.
I was
The
about to
conversation's
ask you
been,
that if you read the questions already. Have you
I
read the
haven't.
questions?
I
Okay.
haven't, but they're right here in front of me, and I'm happy to read them. The conversation was going so well, so easily, I didn't bother to bring it back up. But
Yeah, and I want to share something, but it's just that I'm running out of time. I don't know if
Go
I
ahead.
should do it right now or. It's just that this lesson, my grievances hide a light of the world in me. I have experienced that recently with my process of changing my mind around my situation here with my marriage and my husband and everything. And now that I have been really doing this process with A Course in Miracles, now I get to have my my really happy ending yesterday. Um, After like I don't know 4 years or or more to been asking for the divorce and things like that, finally we have come to an agreement, and now in Friday I will sign the papers. So by Friday I will officially start my divorce process. Like I mean, it would only take this sign on Friday, and then a hearing that is just for some judge to just apply the situation in the documents, and that's it. So I got the opportunity yesterday. Now that I know that this is gonna be uh, uh, done by Friday, to just look at Kurt, my ex-husband, and said to him, "Can we now be friends?" And I look at him and I give him my hand and said to him, "Can we now be friends? I don't want you to be unhappy or anything. I'm just trying to do what's the most loving thing to do for me here, and I don't want to be apart from my daughter. So can we now be just friends and try to have the best life for our little girl? And can I trust that you will not um, keep me away from her life?" And he said, "Of course, I don't want to be in that position with you. We can be friends, of course." And he was really the light that I really needed to feel in him. And yesterday I could give a handshake and give him a hug and say thank you. And now I get to know that I'm really moving forward with this, and I could really tell that the one that was holding my children like a ego, like an ego toy, was myself, because I was for so long in this position of
What
being
a wonderful
frightened.
miracle. Such a beautiful miracle. This is a release. What, God, couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, I was holding my child in the past as this kind of toy that my ego used to keep me away of the idea that she's wholly complete and she's being supported. Now I'm seeing all this experience with Kurt like his way of like redeeming the figure of the father within our history, because he has a difficult relationship with his father as well. And now I can really, really see that he's trying to be the best father for this little girl, and that we can help him. I mean, me and my mother-in-law and everything that is around him can help him be the best father that he can. And I guess this goes as well in some form for Lee, because when I was at the beginning of this process, I was always afraid, because whenever I asked for the divorce, he always said to me, "You can go, there's the door, but my daughter stays with me and you cannot take it away," and whatever. And I was always like afraid, "But why do you say that if she needs to live with her mother and she needs to be with me and you are the one who needs to go?" And I started really to put resistance to that, because of course he wasn't doing that statement in the most loving way, and there's always a conflict around it. But with the Course in Miracles, I could clearly see that whenever I hold my daughter in this kind of mindset that the only way she could be raised and well raised or happy was with me, I was making this entire conflict from scratch. I mean, ever since I had this kind of fearful thought that My daughter could not be taken away from me. I was creating this kind of conflict again. Now, as I really understood that everything that I see with my eyes and everything that is in front of me is just a projection of my inner self, I could really see that my daughter is really the pure light of God. So there's no way that being with her father, it's going to be bad for her, because she needs to have that experience as well, because I didn't have it, because he didn't have it, because we need to experience the love of the Father now. And I need to move a little bit, not leaving her behind or not stop getting in contact with her. It's just that I need to, now that I'm holding this kind of new pillars in my life about having God first, having love first. Now I need to do always, every single day, what's the most loving thing to do for myself. And that's the way we can move forward with the challenges in our lives. We never know what to do, what's best to do. We will never know that. We will never know that because it's only God, the one that knows what it's everything for. So we have been always complaining about, what if I'm not doing this correctly? What if I don't know if what I'm doing is right and I don't know what to do? And you don't get in contact with your higher self and you just keep in that lower self, you will always you will always trap yourself in that kind of fog that the lesson was giving us. So you want to move along of those grievances, you just need to understand that whatever happens in the life of whomever it is in front of you, it's fully, holy, and complete, that you need to trust that whatever it is you have to do with your day to day, it is being guided by God. It's not your doing. Even if it means that you need to be away from your daughter, for my instance, because that's the most loving thing that I can do for myself. I cannot hold any longer any grievances on my relationship with my ex-husband, and I need to really truly see him as holy as me, as loving as me as a parent, in order for me to move forward with love and give my daughter another kind of experience of love, because he will do that as well. And I don't need to control that, because the only one that knows that is God. And that's where my mind always have to point that, because that's the most loving thing that I can do today for myself. If I keep myself in that mindset of asking myself, what is the most loving thing you can do for yourself today? My mind will always find the best answer, that it will feel at peace, even if it is to fight for something, even if it is to scold my little girl for something that she did wrong. What is the most loving thing you need to do for yourself today? It doesn't matter what tomorrow will bring, because it doesn't exist and the past already passed. So,
very well put. Good job.
So I wanted to share that, because for me yesterday was the really miracle, the reversion of all the conflict that I had previously with Kurt, because I'm now really perceiving him as the best father that he is, because I'm now knowing that I'm the best mother for this little girl, and I will redo my life on the base of love of God and the trust and the faith that I need to build around me, in order for me just to move freely in life with all kind of challenges, and be sure that everything is being guided, that I don't need to know if I'm doing right or wrong. I just need to be at peace. I just need to be at peace, even if it is with some kind of tribulations that I might have during the day. The only thing that you have is today. So keep this in your mind. What is the most loving thing that you can do for yourself today, in order to understand that your grievances hide the light of the world in me? So don't let the light of the world be hidden from you. What is the most loving thing that you can do for yourself today? And I will have to say goodbye for now because I have to get ready, Vera, but I wanted to share this because for me yesterday was a huge relief being able to hug Kurt and said to him, thank you for signing this, and we will have a great life. Even with this kind of situation, it's just that we are just beginning to build it. And my mother-in-law was really thrilled as well, and really now I get to have my resolution in this situation that I had since 4 years ago or so. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to say goodbye for now, but I'll be listening, okay? Have a wonderful day.
Thank
One
you,
of the
Andrew.
things, one of the things that this world does is it throws circumstances at us, and our task is just to look at those circumstances, see how we react, and then try and recover our inner peace. If we find that our inner peace has been lost, it's probably because we've looked at it from a wrong viewpoint. We've bought into this idea, and we're really holding a grievance. So, uh, your feelings give you an idea of where you really are, and as long as you've not at inner peace, it's probably because you still have some forgiving to do, some grievance, and that grievance. Remember that it may not always be uh, directed at the person you think you're directing it at. It often is forgiving yourself for requiring that experience. So just be aware that you want to try and recover your inner peace, and uh, we're constantly making progress on that. So our goal, whenever life throws us these circumstances, is if we lose our inner peace, how long will it take us to recover it? Will it take us 20 lifetimes? Will it take us 2 years? Will it take us 2 minutes? Will it take us where we get to the point where we do not lose our inner peace, where we really know who we are? So, look at those things and just realize that those are lessons that give us some feedback to see how we're doing. And there's no reason to beat ourselves up if it took me 20 lifetimes or if it took me 2 days. Just know that that's my objective. I still need some brushing off, some forgiving to do, and just continue to move forward, realizing that because of that experience, you'll be able to probably recover your inner peace uh, more rapidly the next time. It's, sometimes we have to baby step our way to uh, that state of inner peace, but it's achievable and we're all on our own perfect path. Just an aside, I noticed someone told me that they had a problem with downloading that or getting the Amazon Course in Miracles for Dummies workbook. And so I checked, I don't know, Amazon uh, had something on there, and they're trying to resolve the issue as to why it is. But if someone wants the book or whatever, just go to endingfear.org, send me an email, and if you want a digital copy, that's no problem. We'll get it out to you. So thank you.
Some of you may wonder how come Tom is in this room with us, and he's written these terrific help books along with the courses. And I just wanted to give you a brief 2-minute history in that when Lee and I first started reading Course in Miracles on a daily basis, we we read it and we read it, and then we started looking at some other books that were related to it. You can see a whole bunch of them in in Amazon and other places like that. And we got some of them too. We tried them out because we were reading every day, and um, we wanted to listen to this and listen to that. And then we picked up one of Tom's books and we read it and basically said, "Wow, I really like Lee and I both agreed that it was helpful to each of us in our own way, and that Tom had done a prodigious job of really clarifying some of these things. There was also a little synchronicity in that Lee Andron, my son, who art in Boston, also had written a book, one of those with the yellow and black stripes on it, a book for dummies. It was, Lee, what was the name of it? I forget. This is your big chance.
iPhone and iPad web design for dummies. 12 years
Yeah.
ago, not worth even looking up.
Well, everybody's been absorbed, so much into what people do. But back then, it was new stuff. So Lee had experience in writing a book for dummies. He was the author of it, along with their group that massages everything so that it has the same look. In Tom's case, he just wrote the book and used that because it's clever and it's kind and it's not negative, and it's sometimes just really helpful for people to find a book like that to help them um, get through the book without misunderstanding too many things. And it's been a great resource for us. And one day we just decided to call Tom, and he was 4 hours different from us, I think it was back then. And we became really good friends. And when we started to do this, Tom was agreeable to work with us. So that's why we're so lucky to have him with us as we go forward in working on the lessons. So thank you, Tom, for everything you've done for us. We really appreciate it.
Can we read the questions from the book?
I sure can. No problem. Can read those questions right about now. There's 3 today. Do you know people that you feel energized by and others that seem to bring you down? Are these the same people holding an optimistic or pessimistic view of their world? When people have been around you, do they feel uplifted and energized by your presence, or are they drained? And each of these can be something to reflect on or talk about if you're interested. Today's lesson, number 69, My Grievances, Hide the Light of the World, is our thought for today. And we're looking at it from both sides. If I hold on a grievance, then I'm hiding the light, my light, from the world. And if I put myself in a situation to create grievances, I'm hiding that light. And our desire is to do everything we can to uncover that light.
These are good questions. Last night, I watched most of Ben Hur, the original one with what's his name, and he basically was a pessimist concerning Jesus all the way through
Charlton Heston.
this. Yes, thank you. Um, he was a pessimist, but he was very competitive, and he won the race and beat the Roman, even though the Roman was ripping up his chariot. It's a very famous thing. If you haven't seen it, it's a very long movie, so make sure you have enough time to see it. But anyway, it was on TCM, Turner Classic Movies, and at the very end, his and I really didn't know the story. I suppose I should have, but it at the very end. Well, I'm not going to tell you what happens at the very end because that'd be a spoiler. But he does begin to get an understanding of Jesus just at the very end, and the way that it happens is the brilliance of the book and the brilliance of the movie. Um, and he changes because other people love him towards that, until the moment when he actually meets Jesus face to face. And and what happens right after that is really fascinating. And I I don't even know why I never saw the end of it. I probably went to sleep in the middle of it. I don't know in the past, but I'm glad I watched it to the end because no matter how pessimistic people tend to be, and I know plenty of them, um, I just keep smiling back at them, and I don't say everything is going to be all right magically, but I do try and set a stage for them to see it realistically turning out well if I can. So we can help other people change from being pessimistic to optimistic, just by being optimistic all the darn time. And it does help them see it because things generally tend to work out better that way. Not because I'm being optimistic for fun or even for trying it out. I just tend to be optimistic because being a miracle worker, I am optimistic because I think the miracles are going to come somehow. I don't know how. Sometimes people ask me how, and I might say I don't know how, but I know it's going to be okay. And that's my answer to actually all three of these are same. Yes. Do you know people that you feel energized by and others that bring you down? Not too many that bring me down because I don't need to go down with them. Question two, are these same people holding an optimistic or pessimistic view of their world? Yes, they do, and I allow them to do that, but I also usually present my viewpoint. And now I don't know the third one because it got taken away from the screen. But there it is. Thank you, Lee. When people have been around you, do they feel uplifted and energized by your presence, or are they drained? That's the reason I keep coming back to this room because it is so uplifting, and I love to be here. I enjoy it. I enjoy clarifying things when they're confusing, and I, like Lee, am also, and Lee sort of got this from me, we don't have a problem telling somebody exactly how we feel. And if we're down in the dumps, it's not so much down in the dumps, but facing a challenge, we'll talk about it. We don't keep it inside with the understanding from the other person that I need to talk about it. And they do. And usually, almost always, that ends up being much more optimistic for me. And God sets up those kinds of opportunities and wonderful experiences for me. So I generally feel pretty much uplifted most of the time and energized. And great questions, Tom. Thank you. Look who's here. David, you joined us. Come on up and say something.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here. It's been a little while. I've been working in the mornings, and I said, well, let me go ahead and go into A Course in Miracles morning coffee. I haven't um, talked to those folks in a while, and it's always good to talk to you all because it always brings a smile to my face. But I was looking at this lesson 69, and my grievances had the light of the world in me. And I was curious about what it means. In that first little paragraph, I was reading, I guess it's from the A Course in Miracles, and it was saying that no one can look upon what your grievances conceal because your grievances are hiding in the light of the world in you. Everyone stands in darkness, and you beside him. But as the veil of the grievances is lifted, you are released with him. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. He is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both. And what does it mean by when it says, share your salvation now with him who stood beside you, besides you when you were in hell? What does that mean?
It's like the mirror thing that However, you may consider the other person is behaving, it's part of yourself, and therefore your salvation or his salvation is you reversing your thoughts around any conflict that you may see in his information. So it's like if you are the one that holds the grief and somebody came in the form of a friend to hear you and give you some form of love or something, that is you, but you're seeing it apart from you. So you need to embrace what he is bringing of information to your table in order for you to reverse the thoughts about yourself. And if it is the other way around, then for example you get to be always the light for somebody that doesn't see itself as light. You don't get to judge what they are doing because it's not your job pull them out of their misery. That's their misery that they have to work through that by themselves. But the only thing that you can do is the most loving thing that you can do for yourself, that is holding them in the perfect, holy, and peaceful position within your minds. So within your mind, so you can give him the words of wisdom that comes from the spirit and not from your ego. And that way you are embracing his sorrow as part of yourself as well, but from the higher perspective. That is just a dream that the situation that the other person is bringing into your plate will not bring you down with it, because now you get to be the light for that other person. So I guess that's what it is in that part of the book that you just read. I have been testing this and I have been really seeing the effects of persisting in that. And I have been in the position where other people feel sad and then I get sad as well, but then I just take a step back and see myself like asking the spirit, why I'm seeing this? Give me the right vision of this. Is this mine? And then really the mind's open to have some inspiration and start to see the connection within what you are seeing and your thoughts about yourself. And then the inspiration comes through. And then you realize that whatever it is that the other person is having right now as a conflict is just as well a reminder for you to stay in light. You don't need to solve anybody's problems. You just need to reflect the light, because they are light as well and they need to see that through you. You know? I guess it was that for me, the part.
Well, that's good. That's it.
I
I
think
think
that's
that's
part. Well, thank you, Adriana, for explaining that for me. Um, I guess I got caught up on the words salvation and hell, because when I'm like talking with Christians, especially a real close Christian friend of mine, sometimes, she'll tell me, well, if you don't believe and Jesus Christ is your Savior and salvation, then you're going to hell. And I tell her, well, I don't believe in hell. And I believe that I'm already saved. I'm already spirit. I'm made in God's image. There is no hell for me to go to unless I believe that there is, and I respectfully, you know, I respectfully, just don't want to, believe in that. But I accept what you believe. That's your belief. That's your path. But, I guess, like you say, like being able to, I guess, get beyond the grievances so that way you can get out of ego and let your light shine from the higher self. Is that what you're saying, Adriana? And as far as hell go, is that when you manifest um, grievances and negativity in your life, you put yourself in your own hell? Is that what it means?
Yeah, in part, yes, of course. It's just that when we are living in duality, so you will always find this kind of like contrast. within your relationships. And when you love, when you are like holding a person, I mean, it's just that when you love somebody outside of you, and this person is bringing you some kind of tribulation in their lives, that is information that it's related to you as well. So when somebody is in a position where when they give you this kind of trust of telling you their story, and it is a story that it could be difficult to hear because it is hardships in life. You have two options, or you get to say to that person, yeah, you're right, this is so hard, and you're having it so hard, and for you and whatever. Or you just remain a little bit silent, hear the other person, and feel yourself. How do you feel about those ideas that are coming into your reality? And then you get to ask for the right view on it, and you get to realize that it's part of your content as well. So you forgive the form and you stick with the content, because the content, it has to do with you as well. So the situation that the person is bringing to your table is for you to remind yourself that it's your turn to be the light, and you gotta stick with the light, saying the other person words of trust and faith, instead of being with them in the in the pitiful bench, you know. So you get to set them how much you love them, how much you can help, or whatever that your inspiration brings into your mind, because then you will be connected to the higher self instead with your ego. When you are having another person with conflict, that's you. So your salvation and his salvation is remaining in the light. There's always this kind of relationship around us. You will always have the opportunity to be the light for somebody, or just be okay with your darkness and share it with somebody else. And that somebody else can do those things to you, but that is the way we learn. We reflect to each other. So the more you stick with the light, that everything is for a higher purpose, that you don't need to know right now what it's worth for, but you give the other person the idea that the love doesn't do any harm to anybody, so they are loved, and they will find a way, and they will find resources, and they just need to have a little bit of faith. That
Adriana,
is the
that
light
was,
that you
May I
need
say
to.
so? Ah,
yeah. Louisa, go ahead.
hello. Good morning, everybody. It's been a long time. Um, about believing in the hell or not believing in the hell. For me personally, I don't know. The way I understand it is, I don't understand that we go to hell when we die. Is that we create hell in our daily life through ego, through resentment, through pain, through envy, through not helping, through to not willing to heal others, and not willing to forgive ourselves and to forgive others. That is hell. So whether we believe it in it or not, we go there anywhere in this present life, not when we die, but when we are living, breathing in a daily life, just fighting, discussing, not being, not just when we are away of love, then when we are out of love, then we are creating hell for ourselves. That's the way I perceive this. Thank you. I'm done speaking.
That's great. That's the classic duality version. If you see hell outside of yourself, if it's where you go when you die, that's the classic duality version. There's a God and there's a devil. And here we're looking at it non-dualistically. There's no hell, there's no devil, there's God in the absence of God. If we vilify the absence of God, it gets scary and dark and storm clouds, and it's really only light in the absence of light. That means it's light and shadow because we put something in front of the light. The only thing we can do to block the light is put something in front of the light. The whole lesson uses the metaphor of fog because that's the best we can do. in front of the light. You know what it looks like when the sun is shining through clouds? That's the best we can do. We can block the light a little bit. It's plenty enough light to keep reading this book.
Yeah, and in this sense, when people say, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you go to hell. Well, it's actually when you don't believe in His word, which is love yourself and love others. When you don't do that, then you go to hell. And when you are not the Christ, because who is the Christ? We are the Christ. We are the loving, perfect Son of God. So sons of God. So then we are in hell. So yes, then it makes sense when people says, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you go to hell. The thing is how you interpret that. So yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
Bob,
it's
let's
important to
moderate a
remember
little
that a
bit.
lot of the
Vamos a
words in the
moderar.
Course are
Sorry,
used
Trish.
different.
Trish, I'm sorry. It's just that I was seeing Bob already raised his mic on. I'm sorry. It's just that I'm trying to moderate because I have seen Bob trying to speak, and if we let him, maybe we can continue from
it's
there. I don't
okay.
know.
I
It's
I'm
promise
sorry.
okay.
you'll get to speak eventually. You should let other people speak instead.
Yeah, I will.
I'm
And
just
Trisha,
holding
please,
the
Trisha.
order.
It's all
Trish,
good. It's all good.
sorry, Trish.
Thank you, Adriana. But Trisha, I'd like to hear what you say. Trisha, I'd like to hear what you say.
Oh
Oops.
my God.
Okay, she
I'm
probably had
so
a little
sorry.
dysfunction. It's okay.
No, I'm
Everything's
gonna write
okay.
to her.
Okay, she'll be right back, I'm sure. So, what I wanted to say to you, David, is this: in a situation like that, and I have been in those kinds of situations many, many times, but mostly in the past because it doesn't happen to me in that way anymore. The first thing that I believe you have to do, and it's what I do, is establish communication with the person. Because if I say, and I have done it this way wrong, I don't believe in hell. That's a bunch of crap. That's the end of the conversation, and they will walk away, and it all doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I was honest, but I have to have a communication link before anything I say to him or her is going to do any good. So I have to be a friend. So like Lee was saying about the sun coming through the cloud, the sunlight that comes through a cloud is the reaching out and talking to the person in a way that they know we're listening. And then we can slowly give them some understanding if they're interested. If they're not interested, it won't do any good to try anyway. But I have gone too far a couple of times and learned the lesson very quickly. Sorry to say, the lesson was be careful how you say it, because I've been called a blasphemer because I said there is no hell. You're a blasphemer. Well, that's kind of a big word to throw at me, and that was the end of the conversation. And we don't want to do that because we can't help them and we can't help ourselves. We have to be able to communicate, and it's just like in the old days you pick up a phone, or in this days you tap it. You have to get the link first, and then you can give your message if they're interested in it. So I just wanted to add that to it. There's a step in between that's really very important for us, and if we keep a smile uh, because we're happy and we show that, then they will come and ask us, "What the hell makes you so happy?" Exactly.
Well, that
Oh,
is
I'm
so
repeating
helpful,
myself.
Bob. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm in the middle of working. I do Uber, and I'm waiting for a ride to come through. I figure I just pop in to, get the lesson for today. And the question that I had has been answered, I feel, and it's so helpful. What all you had to what all
Wonderful.
of you had to share is very, very helpful in me dealing with my riders as they come in my car, because a lot of times,
Yeah, you're not
they
alone,
do
man.
have issues, with different things. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. No, they're coming in with all their baggage, right? Literally.
Yes, absolutely. and it really annoys me at times. And
Oh my God!
like
You don't have that shield between you like they used to in the taxi cabs, where you can literally block them out. It's you're in it with them. It's tough.
yeah, it's very tough. And but I have to, like Bob said, keep that link, because once you go into ego and go into saying, well, I don't believe that, and I think that's
Yeah.
false.
If
Then
you engage,
the communication shuts down. Yes,
do you remember today's lesson?
yes.
Lee, you're echoing for some reason. I
It's
don't know
because
why.
of David. It's okay. My
All right,
grievance is the light of the world in me. Keep that on your steering wheel on a post-it note. Because any of the grievances that come, and that's how the whole lesson ends up. If we're generating new ones today, we're not heading in the right direction. So don't let anybody take your peace away.
Yeah, I just created one with the with the Trish situation. I really didn't mean to her to say that I'm just creating this situation. I'm feeling like guilt to be
No guilt, blame, or shame.
yeah. It's just that I really didn't want to cut her inspiration, but I thought that Bob was trying to talk before you, before Luisa, before everybody. So I'm sorry.
it's all okay. Nothing went wrong at all. I just want to say to all of you that if you find someone who is really sad or really down or seems to have Christianity, in your opinion, upside down, if you would look at the face, the picture down at the bottom of Joanna, and I told her this in a back channel, she has the most. How would you not want to just tell her whatever's on your mind? She's open. The face, that expression is just a beautiful expression with a smile or even a half smile, so that if a person is really depressed, they really don't want to speak to someone who's really happy. You don't want to overdo it.
We come back to the lesson,
Communication.
please.
Well, I'm going to finish up then with my community. Yes, by all means.
Okay.
What else is there to do,
It's
Lee?
to come back to, it's not about pictures. It's not about our form. It's not about a week ago, a policeman delivered something to me. It's not about the level of the form. It's about not holding grievances and making it worse, not being caught up in the form and what's coming through that way. And this space in Clubhouse, and not necessarily the people that watch it on the stream later, you are the ones that inhabit this virtual space we create every single morning at 6:30. We're coming up on 2 hours. We're typically here for 2 hours every morning. And Dad and I have done it every morning since July 4th. And we're going to be here throughout these lessons. But you're seeing the live practice across many lives. If you've inhabited these rooms for even a couple of days, we've got a dozen or so different storylines, and some are tragic, and the way that we're responding to the tragic ones is from this higher place, from the practical place of practicing this course. And in the small R reality, it sure looks like a lot of us are losing a lot of the days. But at a higher level, we're responding with love. We're bringing more peace to the world than we are more problems. And the practice means coming back to this moment over and over again. It means staying right now in the now, not in what we're doing later on today. So set your reminders for this. My grievances hide the light of the world. If you get new grievances today, be willing to get rid of them as quickly as you can. Be like water off of a duck's back, just drifting right off. Whatever gets in your way, nothing new is going to make your journey any harder. We're on our way up the mountain. And a lot of times when you're going up the mountain, you emerge from the clouds.
I had a quick tip based on what you guys have been saying.
I wasn't quite done. I'm sorry. I know there was a long pause, but it's because I got choked up. So frequently, when you're on a flight and you're taking off and it's a miserable rainy day, you're the only person in that city that's going to see the sunlight. And as soon as you emerge from the clouds, it's one of the most beautiful things in the world to me. When you're climbing the mountain, and we're all climbing the mountain here metaphorically to get to the peace of God, you emerge from the clouds frequently. Mountains are tall and they tower above the clouds, and you can see the sun no matter what. So our lives are getting brighter and easier, and it's easier for us to get into the light and stay there. Okay, George, go ahead.
That was very nicely. Um, yeah, just as what David was saying, what Bob was saying, what you're saying, what Adrian was saying, everybody's saying is, as I read these words in the course that are typically Christian words, instead of saying I don't believe in that, I usually say, well, what does that really mean? And how is it redefined by the course? And you could usually start a good conversation by saying, yeah, interesting, but what does hell really mean? What does salvation really mean? And as we ask for the new definition of those words, we can get into conversations with almost anyone as you explore it together with them. So, what does hell really mean from a course perspective? What does salvation really mean from a course perspective? To me, salvation really means, from a course perspective, forgiveness and the undoing. And what hell really means is what's been said several times here. It's just lack of love, feeling separate from God. So sometimes, instead of blotting out the word itself, try to get down to the meaning and try to just move the person's meaning, or at least entertain a new meaning with the person. And sometimes you could move them just a tiny bit. That's my tip of the day. Have a great day, guys.
I love that tip, and I will use that today. And also, I will practice lesson 69. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. Thank you, everyone, for sharing that with me, and that has really uplifted my day. And y'all make a grand day. Thank you so much.